Hi, everyone. Why don't we start this evening with a prayer? This may be the shortest and most simple prayer you've ever heard. If you like, you can say it together with me. God, help me to know your joy. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. A quick prayer, but I think it's pretty much the essence of life and where we're going. And it's important that we have joy. What is life without joy, really? This topic today is about laughter. It's from this book, Living Wisely, Living Well. And the topic which may have come in your inbox today is the best laughter of all is that which directs energy upward from the heart to the brain, then becoming focused at the Christ center between the eyebrows. But I'd like to start by reading the entire paragraph here that is in this book. So the first line is, think how many kinds of laughter there are. The belly laugh, which proceeds from excessive body and matter consciousness. The gentle laugh that emanates from the cervical center behind the throat and conveys a sense of calmness. Laughter that originates in the medulla oblongata at the base of the brain affirms ego consciousness. Laughter that emanates from the Christ center between the eyebrows suggests clear discernment. When laughter suggests energy moving downward in the spine, it tends to be cynical, bitter, or sarcastic. The best laughter of all is that which directs energy upward from the heart to the brain, then becoming focused at the Christ center between the eyebrows. Now, when I first read this, I have to admit, I don't think I've ever really been laughing and been that conscious to know, is my energy at my heart chakra, and is the laughter taking my energy up to the point between the eyebrows? But reading this made me think that I have some level of sensitivity to energy, but it made me realize that I want to become even more of a sensitive person and be able to feel energy in my body at all times, even when doing things like laughing. This topic makes me think about the fact that everything we do, it gives out a certain kind of energy. And so if we can laugh in this sensitive way, if we can laugh with our energy, number one, up in the higher chakras, and then number two, even with the energy emanating or starting at a place in one of the higher three chakras, if we can have that always directed more upward, that will help affect those around us. And conversely, that those who have a heavy type of laughter, that it will pull us down. I'm sure we've all been around someone who has that type of laughter that's very egoic or sarcastic, that type of laughter that's putting other people down and that is saying, haha, I know what I do is right and that other person is so foolish. And the words might not be there, but it's an energy in that type of laughter. So of course we want to make sure that we don't have that kind of laughter. We want to also not surround ourselves to the extent possible of people who have that kind of laughter, of people who have a low downward pulling energy, that we want to be around people who are supportive, who are kind. And that laughter, there can be a kind laughter, a laughter which is supportive. And these are the type of people that we want to be around. Often people say that, well, I don't have a choice of who I can be around, that I have to go to work and that I have to, my family, that there's no way that I can get around that. But that's just not true. That, first of all, you have quite a bit of choice in who you work with, that you don't have to feel bound to be stuck in any one job forever, that you can always find a different job if your work environment doesn't suit you. But beyond that, you might find that you decide that's it. The people I work with, they all have downward pulling laughter, and I'm going to find another job. And you go and find another job, and you find that all the people are just the same. The point here is that if you change yourself, you'll find that this world around you, it automatically changes. This world is nothing more than a reflection of your own self. Even the evil that you see in it, that it's there in you. We want to keep that latent. Obviously, at the end, we want to get rid of all of it. But even then, if you take someone who's a perfect human being, like a Paramahansa Yogananda, he came when there were 3 world wars. He certainly saw evil, but he knew that in this world there has to be good and bad, but that he always would only manifest and give energy back to that which is good in the world. That you can learn to ignore the evil in this world. And you can learn to live in such a way that no matter what goes on, that nothing touches your own inner joy. That's really the secret to life, that no matter what's happening, that you just see it as coming from God, and you just choose to be happy and joyful no matter what. On this topic of laughter, that one thing that can really be helpful, laughter helps us not to take this world too seriously, not to be too attached to it. And it's a way of freeing ourselves from ego. You know, this is an interesting thing if you like to Google such things when you're bored, that you could Google, there's been many people who have healed themselves simply by laughing or watching many different movies that are very humorous. And you have to ask yourself, now, how does that work? I would think it works that by laughing, that the people who might have some dire illness, cancer, this, that, the other, that they just accept wherever they are with their medical state. And then they decide just to not to take themselves too seriously, not to take life too seriously. And life force itself can come in and work miracles when we don't obstruct that life force with ego. So when we can relax and simply just be, that we can in some ways heal ourselves. That deep within ourselves is an omnipresent, all-knowing soul that knows how to take care of everything. Very often in life, the solution to our problems is just stepping back for a moment, just relaxing, just simply letting things be, rather than searching and rushing madly around for this solution, that solution. That you can find the highest solutions deep within yourself in deep states of peace and calmness. Another thing that I wanted to talk about this evening was a laughter. Well, let me put it this way. Swami Kriyananda said that very often comedians in their personal life are some of the most unhappy people. And what this means is there may be some people who can get up on stage and really stir up the laughter and make everyone laugh, and they look like they're always funny people, but and just always having a good time. But if you were to go to that person's home, that he might be the most miserable person, and it's all just a facade. So number one in that statement about comedians often being very unhappy in their personal lives is, let's try to be the reverse, is that we can put on somewhat of a serious face when needed outwardly, but inwardly, and when we're at home, when we're alone, let's try to be really, really happy. Um, so in our personal life, that we want to be really happy. Now, this grim face, it doesn't need to be grim, but the serious face or whatever, that what it really needs to be is at will. That Paramahansa Yogananda said that when he decides to make himself serious, absolutely nothing can make me laugh, he said. But when he wants to have a good laugh, well, Master was known to have tears rolling down his cheeks, just laughing so hard at the absurdity of life. So he had those 2 different attitudes, you could say, under his control. But I know, because I lived so many years with Swami Kriyananda, that underneath, even if Swamiji would put on a serious face, underneath was this joy that was always bubbling deep on the inside. I heard Naya Swami Jyotish Ji tell a story that something happened to Swamiji's dome when he was first setting it up. I don't remember exactly, but they worked hard for many hours or many days or something, and some storm came or some wind came and blew the whole thing down. And Jyotishji was new at knowing Swami, and I think they were sleeping in a tent together. I don't know the details. Somehow close enough where Jyotishji could hear Swamiji, and he just heard him whispering. And I believe that Jyotishji has a degree in psychology from college. And so he thought to himself, oh, I know what's going on here. This is just the natural grieving process that I learned in college. Swamiji put all this work into building this temple. And now he's just must be whispering something, just grieving about it, perfectly normal. But Jyotishji was curious because Swamiji was a saint, and you wonder, how do saints react to all this? So he listened even a little bit more sensitively. And he heard Swamiji whispering, ah, joy, ah, joy. And Jyotishji realized that if he could go through bad situations, but still on the inside, he had that joy. He didn't know that Jyotishji was listening to him, but he was just feeling that joy. So that's become a fun mantra for me also, that just sometimes I just think, joy. That life, it's just joy, and no matter what's happening, I just tune back in and I just find that joy and then express it properly, outwardly, as need be. So coming back to Robin, or not Robin Williams, but that is what I wanted to talk about, comedians and their outward life, that sometimes they're really happy outward, but inward in their personal life, they're some of the most miserable people. That there's a well-known actor in America, Robin Williams. He made a movie, What Dreams May Come, which was about suicide. He made a movie, I forgot the name of it. That's okay. It was also about suicide. And he was a bright, happy, fun, good actor. I even saw him in person one time at a concert up on stage. And it seemed like, okay, well, this guy, he's really a fun person. And then he ends up committing suicide. And it really made me think about Swamiji's comment of just being too outward. So the point of all of this is, when you laugh or when you do anything in life, have it somewhat under your control. Of don't get your energy, it is that we're talking about today. Don't get your energy so far out that it's outside of yourself. There can be raucous kinds of laughter, just laughing so much and crying, and it's okay as long as you're still in your center. But if you're really far outside of your center, when you come back home later that evening, even though you've had such a good time with your friends, you'll feel a hollowness on the inside, some sort of emptiness. And so we live in a land of duality, but we're trying to overcome that. And we overcome it by always, actually, as this reading here said, keeping our mind here at the point between the eyebrows, but always also just staying in your own spine, staying centered, whether you're laughing or whether you're being serious. So that goes beyond even laughter, that whatever you're doing, if you're working too hard, that it's going to take its toll, that the pendulum is going to swing, and that you're going to burn out and feel tired and not feel like working at all, perhaps the next day or next month or whatever the case may be. If you're laughing too loud, that you're going to feel that hollow sense of emptiness. If you eat too much, well, we all know. And so the question is, how do we live in this world in a centered way? There's a quote in the Gita that yoga is not for him who eats too much or too little, sleeps too much or sleeps too little. Krishna gives another example like that. But Buddha also, his way was the middle way. And so it's your job in this incarnation to find your own middle way and be true to yourself. Your neighbor's middle way might not be your middle way, that you two might be at different levels of spiritual evolution. And so you just have to be realistic as you slowly move forward and go ahead in life. Now, another comedian, I guess you could say, humorist might be a better word that I wanted to mention this evening, is P.G. Wodehouse. And he was one of Swamiji's favorite authors. And the reason why was that he had a sense of humor that never put other people down. It was never demeaning. It just laughed at the silliness of God's drama of this life. And, you know, um, I've tried to attune my will. I try every day to attune my will to Swami Kriyananda, and it doesn't necessarily mean reading all of the books that he read or watching the movies that he read, but sometimes it helps. It's a helpful thing just to have fun little light things that we can do in this world that aren't necessarily meditation or that aren't necessarily seva, that we all just have to have fun sometimes. So P.G. Wodehouse, he's worth tuning into. Uh, one time I was reading one of his stories, and there was a line in it that said, "That theory is pure banana oil." And I just thought to myself, well, I've never heard of banana oil. I don't understand. And I just kept reading. Um, I was thinking maybe it meant the theory wasn't true or something. But about a week later, I started laughing out loud. I thought, banana oil. There's no such thing as banana oil. The banana oil is just, it's made up. It's pure absurdity. It's just false. And so P.G. Wodehouse was saying that that person's theory was just made up, that it was false. And just the way that he said it, that pure banana oil, it's just even still funny to me today. And so I recommend finding people who will have an influence on you that is saintly, that is uplifting. And let's come back to this topic of being able to be in the heart chakra and feel that laughter from there. And then that laughter itself, the highest kind of laughter, is going to lift our energy to the Christ center. That there's all different kinds of saints in this world. And so there must be a saint out there who could help us laugh our way to God. And so our goal is to try to find this particular saint or whatever saint that will be in a way that you would want. But can you imagine for a little while of what it would be like to be in the presence of the laughing saint that, of course, Paramahansa Yogananda wrote about, the tiger Swami and the levitating saint, but it would be a fun one to be with the laughing saint. And I'm sure that if we were with him or her, that he would make us laugh often, but that laughter somehow would remind us who we truly were. That laughter would remind us of God's joy within and without. That laughter would remind us to keep our mind and our attention concentrated at the Christ center, at the spiritual eye. You know that term Christ center, it just as well is called the Krishna consciousness. We can call it the Krishna center. This actually becomes a very deep thing, which I'm not going to go into this evening, this particular center. But the more that you can keep your concentration there in meditation and outwardly when you come and serve in this world, that you will make spiritual progress very rapidly. And if in meditation you can keep your attention there, focused and not let your mind wander, then that center itself, it will reveal great secrets to you. And you know, while we're speaking of that center just a little bit, that center, it is joy. That obviously the heart chakra is love. This fifth chakra, the throat chakra, Vishuddha chakra, whatever you want to call it, is peace. And if we can raise our energy up to this level, that we can feel a great sense of peace. If we can finally raise our energy up to this level, that we can feel great joy. And raising the energy up the spine, it's not like walking up a staircase, like love, check, peace, check, and so on. That energy spurts are going to go up all the time. You'll feel wonderful feelings of a mixture of peace and joy. Interestingly, in the Gita, Krishna also says, how is joy or anand possible without feeling peace? And he's alluding to this inner tree, if you want, that we have to climb. But it's also that if we're not peaceful people, that we will never be able to find joy. So we have to strive to live in these three higher chakras. Interestingly, we have three lower chakras as well. And there's lower energy, obviously, in those. You know what? Swamiji one time was giving a lecture. You can see it on YouTube. It's about the chakras. I forgot the name of that series. Something the awakening. It has something to do with awakening. But in this series, he says, I don't even like to go down there. That he just strives to live up here all the time. And you too. Why not? Strive to feel your energy, learn how to feel your energy and keep it up higher in that way. If you can't feel your energy, learn the techniques of Paramahansa Yogananda. Learn to meditate every day. You automatically will learn how to feel your energy, learn how to energize. That's a particular technique that Paramahansa Yogananda gave, and it will help you learn how to feel energy, first in your physical body and your muscles, tensing and sending energy to them, and then being able to relax. And you can refine that technique and become more and more sensitive until, honestly, until you can feel yourself omnipresent in all of creation. That might seem like a big leap now, but it's your destiny that at some point in all of your incarnations, that you're going to have to go back to where you originally came from. That means go back to oneness with God. The question is, how long do you want to wander in delusion? And you don't even have to think, well, one incarnation, 5 incarnations. You don't even have to worry about time. All you have to worry about is, am I going in the right direction? Am I going towards more joy, towards God realization? And if you are, all the details, they take care of themselves. You know, Swamiji once met an atheist in Australia. I don't know exactly what drew the man to Swamiji's lecture, but at the end of Swamiji's lecture, the man came up to Swamiji and said, more or less, I like everything you've said, but I'm an atheist, and you talked a lot about God. What do you have to say to me? Swamiji said, why don't you think of God as your own highest potential, as the highest visualization that you can have for yourself? Make that your understanding of God. It's a fascinating answer that he gave to that man, because even if you deeply believe in God, it still applies to you, that you can't really understand that which is beyond your level of understanding. And slowly we have to grow into higher levels of understanding, which will come to us through the right channels as we learn to open ourselves to those channels. So I want to now read something. There's an affirmation that the monks, we do an affirmation out of this book, Affirmations for Self-Healing. I've been with Ananda now, I think, for about 14, 15 years, something like that. More even, whatever. And I knew of this book, but just in the last year, we've been reading it religiously every day at the monastery. And I just realized the power in this book and the depth of Swamiji's wisdom. Anyway, I found it interesting. This week we've been reading about humor. And since today's topic was on laughter, I thought I would just read this and we can talk a little bit about it then, and then we'll wrap up. A good sense of humor is an effective means of keeping a sense of perspective through the trials and difficulties of life. By not taking things too seriously, one develops non-attachment. One should not laugh too much, however, lest the mind become light and one's view of life superficial. Thus one needs to achieve a sense of perspective where humor itself is concerned. The best way to do so is to share one's laughter with God, to laugh with the sense of his joy within. Never laugh at people, but rather with them. For humor should be kindly, not sarcastic. Laugh with pure delight, and everyone will join you in your laughter. The first point that I wanted to talk about in this little reading here is that to share one's laughter with God. Really, we should share everything that we do with God. But it's almost like in everything that we do, when we share it with God, we're offering up our actions, our intentions, our thoughts, our feelings. We're offering it back up to the source for fine-tuning. And again, when I first read this, I never thought about as my laughter emanating from the Christ Center. But now I want it to be. That I want to become more aware of everything that I'm doing and offer up everything that I'm doing for that fine attunement to God then we bring it back down into this day-to-day, work-a-day world and see if we have become a little bit more sensitive. We see, have we been able to raise our level of consciousness? At the end, that's all I want. That's the direction that I want to head in, is a higher and higher level of consciousness. Why do I want that? Well, yes, I want to be more aware, but I want it because, as we started off with the prayer, it gives more joy. The higher level of consciousness we have, the higher level of joy we have. So don't be afraid of sharing even the silly things you laugh at with God. As you do that, actually, I just was falling asleep last night and just thinking of some of the silliest things and laughing. But I begin to realize, even when my mind sometimes goes in places that I don't want it to be anymore, when I'm sharing the laughter with God, I realize, yeah, okay, I thought that thing, but I don't want to anymore. That I want to be a more refined human being. I want to laugh at the higher things in life, and the lower things, those thoughts, they come. But that first thought, that's the time to catch it and dismiss it from your mind. So share your laughter with God. Laugh with the sense of His joy within. Do everything with the sense of His joy within. Joy is not the destination, it's not the goal. Joy is the solution. Meditate on those words. That joy is not the goal, it's the solution. If you make joy the goal, it will forever be one day ahead in time. It will ever be somewhere else in space where the power is on and the AC is working, whatever the case may be. But if you make the joy now and here, then you always have it. And that's your choice right now. And so think about that, meditate on that. And then never laugh at people, but rather with them. That, okay, we easily can say that the highest philosophy, well, we are all one. God's in me, God's in you, God's in the birds and the trees and the bar of stone, in the bar of gold, a stone, whatever. That's just philosophy. But can we begin to feel it? And if we do, how? Well, it's going to be a sensitive feeling that we begin to feel on the inside, but we begin to be able to feel these things through feeling energy. Energy is the missing link between this oneness of mind and the understanding the illusion of matter. That as we have enough energy flow through us, in the right kind of energy, in the right way, of course, to the spiritual eye, that we will be able to see through this illusion of matter. We will be able to understand that it is all made of energy. I'm torn whether to talk more about the spiritual eye, but I think I'll just let you figure out these things for yourself as you grow spiritually. But laughter can be the first way for you to understand more sensitively energy and to understand the oneness of all things. And so don't laugh at people, but with them. Feel your oneness with people. When you laugh at people, you affirm ego, you affirm separateness. When you laugh with people, you affirm your oneness with them, and you begin to feel that. And then I'll wrap it up with this point, that if you have this loving, kind, peaceful, joyful laughter, it will become magnetic. And you'll find suddenly that you'll have a whole room of people laughing with you, even though they might not even know what you're laughing at, that your laughter will just be contagious. And this is the way to understand magnetism. This is the way to reach people. With that laughter on the inside that is born of a deep truth, of your secret little relationship with God that you have, that you don't have to tell the details to anybody, but you can express it a little bit with your laughter. Others will laugh with you. You can share your joy of God with others through your laughter, through your smile. So that's a wonderful little thought to end on. I've had a great evening with you, and I look forward to our next time together. May God bless you.